Hello and welcome to Top 5 Friday. I'm your host Tim Cant, and this time we're running down the top music theory tools. So, if like me, you're tired of randomly batting your MIDI controllers like flipping keyboard cat, prepare to have your musical mind blown. InstaScale has scaled its way up to number 5. Forager has found delicious musical treats at 4. Cream is whipping the competition at 3. Chord Prism is getting in on the refraction at 2. And the monstrous Scalar II is our number 1. At 5, it's InstaScale by WA Production. InstaScale lets you play in key, but it does so in a different way to most plugins, offering a potentially more creative solution. Instead of just mapping your notes, each note has a particular value, for example +2 or -4, which it will apply as a step of your current scale. So you could be hitting the same note on your keyboard each time, and thanks to InstaScale, you're playing different notes all in the right key. There's a huge choice of scales and presets to help you come up with an original performance right from the comfort of your MIDI controller. Okay, I'm just going to quickly run through an example of how you might use InstaScale. So you need to set up some MIDI routing in your DAW. I've got 2 tracks here. I've got my InstaScale track, which has got the InstaScale plugin on it. And I've got an actual instrument track, which has got a Chord 1 on it. And as you can see, I've set its MIDI input to the InstaScale track and the InstaScale instrument specifically. And I've set the monitoring to in. Now, when I play on the InstaScale track, you'll see the record arm is on for that track. So I'm playing this track rather than the M1 directly. The MIDI will pass through. Now, how InstaScale works is, if you press A, it'll play the root note. If you press a whole note either side of it, it'll go a step up the scale degree every time, or a step down the scale degree every time. And what you can do is you can press A sharp to repeat a note. And the other whole notes you can hit will take you up +2, +3, -2, -3 notes, etc., etc. And why you might want to do this is because you can change the scale that InstaScale is playing. Also, you can choose various different presets here and even dive in and create your own ones if you want to get really in depth with it. So what I've got is I've got the default scale here, which I believe is just a major. I think it's Ionian, who knows? So let's have a listen to what I've got playing on that major scale. Very simple, pretty nice. Not that exciting though, but what we can do is we can swap through a bunch of the different presets and it'll change. Because it's changing the scale, it's going to change how the inputs fall, the notes fall, I should say. So let's see how that goes. So we're having a bit of minor fun with Aeolian. We're taking it to the Middle East. I don't know what Lydian makes me think of. Neapolitan minor makes me want an ice cream. I don't know, borscht, is that Hungarian? And so on and so on. Just tons and tons of different scales to play with. So if you're a bit of a music theory head and you're feeling like you're stuck for inspiration and you want something to take you out of your comfort zone, then InstaScale is worth checking out. And there's a trial version so you can try before you buy. At 4, it's Forager by Harvest Plugins. Designed to help you find the most delicious chords for your track, Forager is a straightforward but extremely useful music theory plugin. You select a scale, then Forager will rummage around with its little snout, locating compatible chords that you can drag onto its MIDI pads and trigger with a single MIDI note. You can control how fussy Forager is with the loose matches knob, and you can also search chords with a filter and exclude certain chords from the results. It's £39. Forager is a cool little music theory MIDI plugin. I particularly like this one because it's pretty straightforward and you don't have to spend hours getting your head around it. I'll show you how it works now. You start by choosing a scale. I'm going to go real simple for this. We're going to choose C and major, and then it'll find a bunch of common chords for us. So you start out with your 1, 4, 5. Simple stuff, and then, you know, some slightly fancy bits. And if you want it to be less fussy, you can turn up the number of loose matches, and then it's less fussy about how many common notes there are. So you can, you know, get some kooky stuff in there. So once you've found a chord sequence you like, I'm gonna make this slightly fussier, and let's try and find a chord sequence that sounds cool. Okay, that'll do. Okay, so now we've dragged it onto the drum pads, and we can trigger it with MIDI notes. There you go, it's as simple as that. And if you want to get fancy with it, you can do some inversions and transpose the octave. Lovely. So, Forager. It's a fantastic MIDI plugin that won't break your brain when you try and use it. At 3, it's Cream by Kernu. Cream might just be the ultimate step sequencer, helping you to sequence notes, chords, arpeggios, and more, all to feed whichever virtual instrument you pointed at. Using the different sequencer lanes, you can program note lengths, note pitches, accents, gate controls, swing amounts, octaves, and loads more. And of course, you can save multiple patterns to switch between and have some fun. Cream is a powerhouse for sequencing melodic lines, and there's not much you can't do with this thing. Once you've got it set up to feed an instrument of your choice, you've got a world of musical power at your fingertips. You can get it on Plugin Boutique for £30. Cream is an enormously powerful and deep MIDI instrument. I'm just going to show you the most basic thing you can do with it, which is still very exciting, which is to make your kind of like your own more involved arpeggios. I guess we've all seen the arpeggiators included with most DAWs, but they're generally not the most powerful, and will typically just play a kind of rigid sequence of notes or whatever, whereas in Cream, you've got a whole step sequencer. So if we just play the root, we've just got a pluck there playing on 16th notes. And what we can do is we can shift the MIDI about a bit and create a bit of a different pattern. I'm just going to go for something pseudo-random here and come up with some kind of... Oh, isn't that nice? See, it unlocks your creativity, guys. That's what I'm talking about. And then you can play that on, I don't really like that one. And you can also do stuff like adjust the gate for each note, which is essentially the note length. And then you can play it on different keys. So it's a lot more interesting than your regular arpeggiator. Of course, you got your stuff like octaves and swing. And there's some other cool stuff you can do, like divide as well, which gives you kind of like glitchy repeat effects. So there you go. That's just the tip of the iceberg. There is an enormous amount of stuff going on in Cream. And for the 30 quid asking price, my goodness, does it go very, very deep indeed. At 2, it's Chord Prism by Mosaic Beats. At the most basic level, Chord Prism gives you 2 octaves of MIDI notes, which you can control from your own MIDI controller. On the left, there are one-finger chords, which change as you choose the scale and key you're working with. On the right, you get the Smart Scale and Multi-Arp keyboard, which lets you play notes from the selected scale while using the white keys, and the arpeggios in the scale using the black keys. There's a lot more to Chord Prism too, with sequencing of both octaves, velocity settings, arpeggio controls and more. You can grab it on Plugin Boutique for £45. Okay, let's take a little look here at how Chord Prism works. You see you've got these 2 virtual keyboards here. So we're looking at a keyboard split kind of vibe, where the left-hand keyboard will play chords for you like this. And you've got various modifier keys as well. So I was playing minors there, I can change that to majors. And then you can mix it up by going... that sort of thing. And there's various other modifiers, and these, oh my goodness, there's plenty you can do with these. So you can change what the modifiers do. You can change the chords that you're using. And then you have the right-hand keyboard, which just plays single notes. Or, on the black keys, you have various arpeggiations. So what you can do is you can play an arpeggiation and play a chord. and it'll fit the arpeggiator to the chords. Rest assured, there is an enormous wealth of power under the hood of Chord Prism, and if you're looking for some musical inspiration, maybe you should give the trial version a little go, eh? And at number 1, it's Scalar II by Plugin Boutique. Scalar 1 was easily one of the best music theory workstations around, if we do say so ourselves, and version 2 goes even further. Classic features like scale detection, chord selection, and progression building are still here at the heart of Scalar, and for version 2 you also get melodic expressions with over 200 phrases, modulation suggestions to help you move from one key to another, and 30 included instruments to use to play your sounds. Of course, Scalar outputs MIDI, so you can also route it through your synth of choice. Other new features in Scalar 2 include audio scale detection, MIDI capture to export to your DAW, 200 chord sets, and hundreds of new scales. This is Scalar 2 2.2 specifically. It's just been updated. I'm going to show you a couple of the new features now. The melody and bass performer modes specifically. So let's pick some chords to get us started with. Of course we're going to choose MJ Cole, why wouldn't we? Let's have a listen. Straight from the fingers of the Garage Master. So what we can do to make a melody is we activate the performance mode and we choose melody, and then we just play the chords. We get the same thing, but with melody. A delightful, and if you like, you can go in there and you can change it. So instead of the chord and the melody, it's just the melody. Let's have a listen to that. And there's all of these different available melody templates to choose from. There's an enormous amount. There you go. Instant inspiration. Let's try a bit of a bass line. So switch to a bass sound. There's some new sounds in here. Oh, let's have a bass guitar. In fact, I'm going to turn this up an octave and I'm going to go for pop 2, I believe. Great stuff. As you've just seen, you can use Scalar 2 in a very straightforward way, but it goes incredibly deep. So if you're really into music theory or you just fancy a little bit of extra inspiration, please take a look at this one right now. Well, that's all we've got time for, I'm afraid, and worse news. I've been reading up on Keyboard Cat and he is in fact dead. VIP, RIP. Please take a moment of silence as you click the subscribe button and tap that notification bell. Goodbye.